Now, I think that we could all safely agree here that Disney has had the worst year of all time throughout all of 2023 so far, not just based on their ever-failing stock, but also with the box office failures one after the other, and let's not forget about merchandise for Star Wars hitting an all-time low, especially for Ahsoka, and a lot more related to it in that sense. There's a lot of things happening within Disney, and specifically with their other franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, and just Disney in general. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one major development surrounding Snow White as a brand is that we do know that Bob Iger and the Disney Board of Directors are trying to course correct everything related to Snow White, because we know that Snow White for Disney, it is a part of their bread and butter. I mean, let's not be, direct here, but it is true. At the end of the day, we know that Bob Iger is really trying to salvage Snow White the live-action remake as much as possible. He will say whatever he has to say to string along the shareholders and the general public, leading to believe that this movie is going to be a smashing success. Now, what's even more revealing has a lot to do with the cancellation of a Snow White project by Disney that is wreaking havoc over at the company, that is really causing and opening a can of worms. Let's dive into the overall details about this and exactly what it means for the future of Disney and the Snow White brand in itself. Now, we know that Iger is going to be making a lot of public statements about 2024 and beyond for Disney at the last earnings call of this year, which, by the way, takes place within the first couple of days of November. I think it's on November 9th, to be correct. But what's interesting about this is further, alright, on top of all of that, with Disney dealing with the ongoing drama for Snow White 24, one major development has to do with the official cancellation of Snow White as a project that is now leading a reason as to why Disney is beginning to take action on recreating Snow White again. As it turns out, Disney recently and officially removed the Snow White 24 sequel from their early development schedule to update their lineup for October. This comes as a result after firing Rachel Zegler from the entire planned Snow White universe that is now no more, along with actress Gal Gadot, walking away from 3 Snow White movies altogether. The Snow White sequel that was cancelled was set to bring back writer Greta Gerwig and director Mark Webb. This also created a domino effect in which both Gerwig and Mark are left out of work within Disney, and Greta is likely to lose her other Disney projects that have been getting worked on behind the scenes. Now, for those of you that did not know, Greta Gerwig is so far going to be affiliated with at least 2 other projects by Disney, either as a writer or a co-writer. That's really up to them to decide, but it's either or. And this really is going to show you exactly what is going to happen with Greta Gerwig once Snow White fails for Disney, much like how Indiana Jones 5: The Dial of Destiny failed at the box office, and how James Mangold is now in the hot seat of losing his Star Wars movie called Dawn of the Jedi. Now, we know that Snow White 2024 is going to be a box office failure. We all know this, they know that we know this, but they will lie whatever they have to say to string people along, like I said earlier in this video. Now, the thing about Snow White getting, completely remade, and how the sequel was cancelled altogether, is that now, we talked about this also lightly, is that what they are planning to do is to stick closer to the source material while at the same exact time embracing their DEI agenda. What does that really translate to? It basically means making the movie a little bit less woke. That's all it really means, and sticking closer to the original 1937 tale. That's basically all what it really is about. It's kind of going to be like The Little Mermaid, where it sticks closer to the source material, but at the same exact time, it's still nonsense, as you all know. Now, on top of all of this, what makes matters even worse is that the sequel to the 24 film was aimed to focus on the return of the evil queen through dark magic and sorcery from her evil brother, and would focus on female seven dwarfs this time around that would serve as the cousins of the seven dwarfs. The cancellation of this Snow White project is now leading Disney in pursuit of remaking Snow White again with a brand new cast and sticking closer to the source material, while also embracing, like I said before, their DEI agenda and strategy in the film that they want to release by 2026 or 27 at the latest, depending on how far the SAG strike actually goes, which honestly, guys, I think it's going to end by this week, maybe next week the latest. So, the sequel that was canceled was also aimed to hold a budget of $350 million by Disney, with the possibility of becoming a new trilogy. However, no plans for a third film were concrete behind the scenes. So again, this is very similar to what Disney was trying to do with many different elements of Star Wars, right? They had the movies in the pipeline, then they were canceled. Then they had more movies in the pipeline, then they were canceled. Same exact thing goes as follows for Snow White. They had a whole universe set up, these rough ideas for a universe, and they quickly fell apart. And the firing of Zegler, the removal of her from Disney, was the main factor here. As well as the drama with Gal Gadot and director Mark Webb, we already talked about that. But what's even more revealing about this entire drama happening behind the scenes over at Disney is how the cancellation of this sequel created a ripple effect, a domino effect, if you will, on putting Disney in a forced position to find an avenue to remake Snow White again. And they're going to do this in the next couple of years. This is exactly what they also want to do with other movies out there. I'll talk about that in a second. But their main focus right now is to bury and remove the terrible memories from their customers that they are about to have with Snow White 2024 by making a brand new film closer to the source material. Now, a full-fledged reboot of the Newborn remake is already happening behind the scenes at Disney in an attempt to, like I said before, to actually make the backlash forgotten by their customers in Disney history, to make it really vanish. Which, by the way, guys, to be honest, that's not going to be removed from anybody's minds, whoever sees this film. This was a proposal made by Bob Iger that was accepted and honored by the board of directors, and they were able to expedite these plans with Disney to course correct the Snow White brand. Additionally, Disney is now looking to make the remake with a significant smaller and tighter budget to reduce spending in the future, as per Bob Iger's cost containment plan. Now, reboots of Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and more are also happening behind the scenes. This also includes Alice in Wonderland 2010 getting a full-fledged reboot. So we talked about that already last week. This is something that Iger and the board are chasing, and they want to do this in order to expand. And at the same exact time, we all know that this just goes to show you that they have no originality. They really have no original or creative ideas in their minds to make. They just feel like they have to, like, you know, go back to old animated movies and do reimaginings of those. That's about it. That's all that Disney can really do at this point. I mean, heck, even Star Wars in many scenarios with the movies could not be super original. So anyway, guys, you know, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.